Hey guys, it's been a while. Jim back again to bring you guys an MMA fight prediction video. Now this time I'll be covering the UFC 162's main event that features a middleweight title fight with Anderson, the Spider Silva, the pound-for-pound king and current UFC middleweight champion, takes on the man that he didn't want to face when he goes head-to-head with the undefeated, undeniable, all-American Chris Weidman. We're going to go over all the details that led to the conception of this fight happening, as well as who's going to walk out with the gold, baby. Now, without further ado, let's get this thing started right about now. When Anderson Silva destroyed Chael Sonnen in their second fight in the second round via KO, the question was raised, who was the face of that? Actually, Lombardo's name is still out there, but he failed to defeat Tim Boschee, thus ending his title hopes. And when Anderson Silva declined to face Chris Weidman, the undefeated top contender at the time, who was perfect 9-0, just defeated Munoz via KO and Demain Maia via unanimous decision previously. Silva decided to sit out the rest of the year because Weidman did not present enough star power or notoriety for him and his management's case to even take the risk of fighting him at this stage of his career. And with the middleweight division, without a clear-cut number one contender in the face, more the chance of him making a lot of money, there's no point in the fight. But he did fight Stephen Bonner, UFC 153, clowned him, knocked him out, got himself a paycheck, and then took the year off. Now, Chris Weidman was then set up to face off against Tim Boschee when he couldn't get the Anderson Silva fight, but he did face some hardship in the meantime. His house was destroyed by a natural disaster. That showed him up. Then he got injured and then he pulled out of the Tim Boschee fight. Which would have given him that little bit of seasoning that he needed to get some interest with the fans and stuff, because there's a big picture of the UFC 155, UFC 155, and JDS and Killing Glasses had that. But that was not to be. However, it turns out to be a blessing in disguise because every single top contender that had a name was defeated. Bisping lost. Belcher lost. Boschee lost. Rashad Evans was coming down the middleweight, lost. And it was too early due to a belt force of Yushino Kami, who got handily defeated by Silva in a title shot by Silva by default. Chris Weidman finally gets his title shot that he deserved and that was denied by him because Silva and his management wanted to face a top contender that had a lot of notoriety behind it. And because they also know Chris Weidman is a dangerous matchup for him. If even but Anderson have said, this fight is good for the fans and good for Chris, but not for me. He even said that. But it's understandable considering that Chris Weidman is exactly what Joe Rogan has always said would be the terrible matchup for himself. A wrestler who can rough him up and cut him. Yes, Anderson and Chael were good wrestlers, but they could not take him down and rough him up and cut him. When they took him down, they couldn't cut him up. And Yushino Kami couldn't take him down at all, and Anderson knocked his ass up. Chris Weidman is the guy to do that. He's the guy to take him down, rough him up, cut him, and possibly submit him. And if you notice in all of his fights in the UFC, most of his opponents come out bloody looking. Look at Lefty Sakara, look at Jesse Bonsto, look at Mark Munoz after he elbowed him and stuff. Looked pretty nasty looking when he got done. And not to mention, when he has a full training camp, he usually finishes his opponent. So, this guy is a terrible matchup for him on paper. Anderson Silva has a lot more experience than him, and he's beaten a lot of tough guys. But it's just something about Chris that makes you want to believe in him, because unlike Chael Sonnen, he doesn't give the thought of himself losing. He envisions himself, he has that kind of conviction of himself the way John Jones does. He goes to a fight. He doesn't ever give a thought of himself. He hasn't thought of winning. So it would be a great, heartfelt story if he would beat Silva and become a new middleweight champion. But that's a tough task too. You're facing the best fighter there ever has been to this point. It's a tough thing to do. Can he do it? We'll see. We'll see. But if Silva defeats him, super fights in his near future will be on the horizon for him. In the form of George St. Pierre, if that's down to 170, or John Jones, if he goes to a 5, John, cut down to 192 or 185, and then that mess attached to an FT Silva. So you're going to have to face the 205%. Throw some ball. But as far as who's going to win, whether it be the confident challenger who's been denied time and again his shot, will he shock the world and win it, or will Silva retain his championship and go on to face the super fight? That question will be answered coming up next. Now, heading into this fight next week, the champion, Anderson the Spider Silva, and pound-for-pound king, is riding a 16-fight winning streak, the longest in UFC history, and the most title defenses of any champion, regardless of division, at 10. Now, I know he'd like to add Weidman to that list, who is a perfect 9-0, who is arguably Anderson Silva's toughest challenge to date, so that he can move on to face the more lucrative super fights with George St. Pierre and John Jones. But that is all fantasy, people, unless he can defeat Weidman next week and retain the championship. Now, when it comes to pure skill set, Anderson Silva edges Chris Weidman in the striking round all day. Now, Weidman may be a good striker with his punches and his kicks and his ground and pound, but he does not compare to Anderson Silva's striking whatsoever, because with his pinpoint accuracy, sniper-like precision, his timing, and his ability to cut angles, he is able to do stuff that we've only seen in movies. Because if you look at that front kick to the face to Vitor Belfort, that was simply legendary. That really shouldn't be done in an MMA fight whatsoever. That's something you see in the Karate Kid, but he was able to pull it off just like that. That effortless jab he took, that he inflicted on light heavyweight champion Forrest Griffin, simply put, unreal. And that endless barrage of strikes that he put on Chris Weidman with his punches, his kicks, and his knees, priceless. Nevertheless, he's no slouch on the ground either. But he's a black belt jiu-jitsu, and he submitted top grapplers in Chael Sonnen, Travis Lutter, and Dan Henderson via rear naked choke and triangle choke, respectively. But what's also made him such a great champion has been his ability to adapt and endure. Because when Nate Marco was trying to take him down, he took Nate down and got on top and pounded him out. When Chael tried to go for that spinning back fist, he basically got out of the way hit him to the body. And what Anderson Silva does, he analyzes his opponent's speed, attack patterns, looks for mistakes, so he can capitalize and finish. But he could take a beating and still somehow find the way. Because when Chael beat his ass for 5 rounds in the first fight, he basically somehow went the storm and submitted Chael, and he's taken a lot of punches by a lot of guys, and he smothers them, and he doesn't take any damage. Because if you look at all of his fights, you don't see him bloody, you don't see him messed up or anything. He just looks like he just came from the beach or something. The guy doesn't have a scratch on him. But his main deficiency has been Chris Weidman's strength, which is wrestling. And I know you guys say he has a improved takedown defense. Well, that only applies to jiu-jitsu guys, people, because when he has to deal with a wrestler, he gets taken down. And the Chael Sonnen fight always showed that he knows how to grab short like a bitch. But nevertheless, Chris Weidman is an NCAA Division I wrestler. I mean, he can take people down like it's second nature, whether it be a single leg or double leg, and then transition to get the side mount, or just land in side mount. But he doesn't like to stay in the guard so much. He likes to be able to get free and get a submission attempt, or, use a submission attempt so he can get some ground and pound, because he blends his submission skills with his wrestling very well. Because he's not only such a great wrestler, but he's also a brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And when he locks on submission, it's game over. When he stinks it in deep, look what happened to Tom Waller. Done. Look what happened to Jesse Bongfeld when he got that standing guillotine choke. He tapped. But for the game plan for both guys, it's simple. Anderson, keep this on the feet, defend the takedowns as much as possible, sprawl and ground, and knock this guy out. And for Chris, use your striking and your wrestling to get this to the ground. Stay inside mount, don't stay in the guard of Anderson Silva, because if people stay there too long, they get submitted. Because Travis stayed there too long and Chael stayed there too long, and both those guys got punched from the bottom and triangle choke. Not a good thing to do. I don't really see Anderson submitting Chris, but unless Chris makes a mistake, or does something stupid, I don't really see it happening. But nevertheless, keep the pressure on him, go for ground and pound, and submission attempts, and try to submit this guy. Or get a decision by smothering him and just keeping an endless barrage of pressure. But just don't let him think whatsoever. Just pour it on. Now, nevertheless, most media and bookies have Anderson Silva as the odds-on favorite. Rightfully so. The guy's defeated almost every single style opponent he's ever faced, whether they be wrestlers, jiu-jitsu guys, or strikers. But I, like most fighters, believe that Chris Weidman is going to be too much for Anderson Silva, because the guy is simply put Chael Sonnen 3.0. And Chael was able to control this guy for 5 rounds and almost beat him. But Chris will be able to finish him, because Chris has better ground and pound, better submission skill, that he can transition from the guard better, and he mostly, when he takes you down, he's inside mount anyway, so he can get the mount faster. And hell, if he can submit Roger Gracie, and Roger even said that he can submit me and anyone. So if that's the case, Anderson's in trouble. And if Chris can lock in a submission, it can be game over. So for that reason, I have Chris Weidman coming out the victor at UFC 162 and become the new middleweight champion and achieve his destiny. Now, that will do it for this fight prediction. I'll see you guys next time. I know you guys think I might be crazy, But we'll see what happens at UFC 152 when Chris Weidman defeats Anderson Silva and walks out with the belt. See you next time, guys.